For 10 years, Jose Manuel Barroso was in charge of the European Commission here in Brussels. In that time, he worked with the then Vice President, now President-elect Biden, and also helped oversaw one of Europe's economic recoveries. But another recovery is much needed now in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. So I'm delighted to say that Mr. Barroso joins me. Very welcome to the Global Conversation. Can I just ask you, first of all, when you heard the news that Joe Biden had won the presidency, that he is president-elect, was there a sense of relief? How would you describe your emotions?
Yes, I was delighted that he won the election. I believe we can work with Joe Biden very well in terms of convergence between Europe and the United States of America. And so I think as most European people, we were welcoming the news of Joe Biden election. I think with some exceptions, probably some populist leaders, at least the current leaders of the European Union were delighted to learn about the Joe Biden election.
Now, I say when you were Commission President, you worked, of course, with Vice President Biden under Barack Obama. What was your sense of the man, and what do you think his presidency will mean for Europe?
I think it's a safe pair of hands, basically. And this is someone also who believes in the importance of American-European cooperation, not only with the European Union, but NATO. So I think we have now the basis to make some progress in this relationship. I think it's not going to be exactly like before because the world has changed, but it's good to know that we have someone we know and someone we like leading the United States of America.
You say it's not going to be the same as before because the world has changed. You look at things that's been happening this week, the introduction of more tariffs on US goods, the antitrust competition that the Commission is looking into. It is a reminder that, yes, Europe and America might be allies, but they're also foes to a degree. You know, they are competitors, aren't they?
Yes, but competitors, fair enough, that's okay. By the way, in Europe also, let's be honest, there is also competition between the different governments and different countries. Competition is okay. The point is about being allies in some important issues like defense, and also to be really partners in many matters, and to have overall a convergence of views. And in fact, basically, the Europeans and the Americans share the same values. And I think this is incredibly important in this very unpredictable world of today. So what we need is, of course, a framework for this cooperation. In spite of what most people think, the reality is that European Union-United States relationship is still the number one in the world in economic terms. If you look at the volume of trade and also the investment, both ways. So it's a very important relationship, and we should do more to develop it.
Let's just turn to Brexit to a degree, but through the Biden presidency. Manfred Weber told us this week that he thinks Joe Biden in the White House will strengthen, or his election strengthens, the EU's hands when it comes to its negotiations with the UK on this future trade deal. Do you agree with him?
Look, I think that even before Joe Biden election, we were becoming closer to an agreement. And I hope there will be an agreement. I think it will be really, a shame and almost absurd now to not to have an agreement and to have, let's say, tariffs or quotas between the European Union and the United Kingdom. But I think they are very close to an agreement.
But does that election last week, does that make that deal more likely because the UK will have to compromise?
I think the UK was ready to compromise even before this election. It's true that President-elect Biden has a very strong connection with Ireland, and in a way that is, of course, with the European Union. And so, of course, that was one of the reasons why we also were so delighted with this election. Having said that, I don't think this is going to be a decisive factor for an agreement to come hopefully, between the UK and the European Union.
Do you think that actually the EU has worked better during this coronavirus crisis in dealing with an economic recovery plan than it did under your time when it really struggled to get one in the wake of the financial crisis?
Look, the response now will not have been possible without the work done before. Let's not forget where we were at that time. At that time, most people were predicting Greece to leave the euro. Many people, including in the markets, were predicting the end of the euro. We have saved the euro. And at that time, we have broken a lot of taboos. For instance, at that time, many of our member states did not accept the very idea of bailout, of supporting the weaker countries. And now they have understood that in a union like the European Union, we need to be together. And so, yes, now this time it was possible to go further and to be quicker, but because there was the experience of the last crisis, and also because now we have instruments that at that time we had to create from scratch. For instance, the European Stability Mechanism that did not exist at that time. And so now people felt comfortable in doing more. And of course, these are very good news. And by the way, I think still more has to be done. But the response, I think, has been a very convincing response that was received by some people with some surprise, frankly, not by me, because I know that the European Union is step by step. Sometimes, namely in times of crisis, there are big steps. And that's exactly what happened this time. And I think from that point of view, we may be positive about developments we see today in the European Union.
Let's kind of change course, if we can, slightly and reflect on one of your other roles, because you're going to take up the chairmanship of Gavi at the start of next year. What was your reaction to Pfizer's announcement this week? Exciting news, I assume.
Yes, the Gavi Global Alliance for Vaccines, I will have that position, chair of Gavi, starting 1st January. So I prefer not to comment now more specifically, but certainly I can say that we have all received very positively this news. Now, as you know, we have to wait for the emergency use authorization, and we know that this vaccine and possibly other vaccines that are being developed are a very strong response to the current pandemic. And it's so critically important from a public health point of view, but also from an economic and social point of view. So basically, extremely good news, very hopeful, this news that we just received.
Mr. Barroso, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Much appreciated.
Thank you. My pleasure.